Hello, my fellow awakening ones. So, hope this video finds you feeling safe, loved, and able. I just want to speak a little bit on my current understanding of the word Jew, the identification of Jew, and take what resonates, leave the rest. So, basically, there is this phenomenon of the Ashkenazi or white Jew, and this is we have existed for about 1,000 years. It's just another construct, you could say, and in thought, and in this case, tribally and as a people. But really, going back, there were no white Jews until the kingdom of Khazaria, the ancient kingdom of Khazaria, was compelled due to circumstance and losing a war with their neighbors, the Rus people, or Russia, we call Russia at the time, and other nations surrounding them. It's a complicated story, but basically they were a satanic kingdom, and they were murdering and robbing and stealing people's identities of surrounding areas, people coming through there, traveling, and it was an openly satanic country, satanic nation, doing all sorts of terrible things and treating their own people terribly, and so on and so forth. But anyway, they were doing this and disturbing all the people, the nations around them so much that those nations formed a coalition against them, and they brought them to their knees essentially and said to their royalty, you have to change your religion. You can't be satanic anymore. You can't do all this, and you can't do all the evil that you do in that religion. So you can be either. They gave him an ultimatum, and they said you can either be Christian, you can convert to Christianity, Islam, or Judaism. And for whatever reason, they chose Judaism, and they did proceed to convert themselves, the royals of that land, and then force their people to convert to Judaism. But secretly, they continued to be satanic, and it's very complicated, and it goes on today. There continues to be a lot of Jewish people, especially wealthy Jews, but just various Jewish people, and also royals who are outwardly Jewish or Christian or Muslim or Hindu or whatever, and they're privately satanic. It seems to be the most common with Christians, but can also be Jews. Well, actually, I wouldn't say it's most common with any one religion now. It might be the highest proportion of Jews within that group, just because there aren't that many Jews to begin with. But anyway, back to Khazaria. This was about 1,000 years ago. It was around the year 1000 CE, or after Christ. They publicly converted to Judaism while privately continued to be and practice Satanism. And so, and then another part of it is the royals, they were so decimated. A lot of them traveled to Western Europe and sort of infiltrated. Well, not sort of. They then proceeded to infiltrate the royal houses of Europe systematically until they coerced, or not coerced, until they stole those royal houses and lineages. Well, not the lineages, but they stole the houses. Um, yeah, so this issue continues today. There are all these Jews claiming to be Jews, rich and powerful Jews. Whether they're a lot of them are business people now, but some of them are royals. Actually, no, most of them are just business people, or maybe spiritual leaders, or entertainers as well. And they continue to be Satanists in private, and some of them are even not even human to begin with as well. Some of them are either actually reptilian, human hybrids, or they're humans that basically sold their soul or gave their soul up for power, and then allowed reptilian beings to possess and run them, basically run their human avatars. But yeah, this continues on today, and it's something we're all dealing with, I think, and whether we realize it or not, that there's this tiny little group of fake Jews, and then also fake Christians and fake Muslims, and maybe other religions, but certainly those three, who are pretending to be those organized major, quote unquote, major religions outwardly, and secretly they're really Satanists. And it's coming out more now. Yeah, this is why they do the ritual sacrifice of children, and the pedophilia, and promote all of the debauchery, and just amoral and inverted thinking and behavior in the world. And they, their ancestors infiltrated Babylon, and brought Babylon, which was actually a high civilization for a period of time, until they got corrupted and fell. And same in Egypt and Greece and Rome and the Mayans. And it's like it's not a new thing, this sort of this group of Satanists kind of infiltrating power structures, and then taking them over and promoting their subversively, or now it's pretty open, but historically it was, until very recently, it was covert, and they promoted their immoral ways and inverted, distorted ways of thinking. And yeah, and so within that, there's all these white Jews, as I see it, it's Ashkenazi Jews, who are not really genetically anyway Jewish, or not Hebrew, not of the descending of the house of Shem. And I'm one of them. My whole family, at least all the family I have I'm related to by blood, is this, and there's many other quote unquote white Ashkenazi Jews all around the world, who you could trace their lineage back to like Russia and Eastern Europe, but we can't actually trace our lineage back to people from Israel, living in Israel. And so I guess, like, it's one level, it doesn't matter, all that really matters is how you are, what kind of person you are, how you live your life, how you treat yourself and other people. But I think it does matter to know, politically, and just the truth about about our collective story, because this issue is to me it's a large part of it. It's not like it's not the only part, and it's not even necessarily the most important part, but it is a significant part, because it helps explain, like, how could just a very small group of people, or how could we have these issues of war and suffering and slavery over and over and over across almost every culture, and the patriarchy, they're patriarchal people, right? There's no Satanists that are matriarchal, not that I know of. It's a masculine oriented religion. Um, and so, yeah, I think it's just it's important. Well, for anyone that wants to know the truth, wants to know more about this reality, and if they're Jewish, like me, an Ashkenazi white Jew on paper, would like to know, where did that really come from, right? Because it didn't. Whatever you believe, there were no white Jews until these people, these Khazarians, converted themselves and their people to Judaism about 1,000 years ago. Um, and so, yeah, this is why there are all there are all these books, like the Protocols of the Elders of Zion, and and a lot of people still talk about and lament, the Jews are running the world. It's because they're fake Jews, as I see it, and they do run the world, or at least they run it in structures anyway. Like the Rothschilds, they descended from these people, one of the big banking families of the world, and maybe the Rockefellers, and a lot of other people that most of us have not heard of, but who are extremely rich and powerful and influential. And I guess again, at the end of the day, it doesn't really matter, as long as you try to get along as best you can with everyone around you. But I think it matters, when you look at like what Israel and then is doing with Iran, and then America in support of that. It's all goes back to this. And that's the other thing I was gonna say. Yeah, and then just to me, and then what Israel has been doing to the Palestinian people, who are actually a number of different people. It isn't like one group. There's a number of different groups for that people, but it explains why they would colonize that land, or want to, and then oppress these and divide the Arabs and other people living there, because those people actually descend legitimately from ancient Hebrews, from ancient Israelites, whether they realize it or not. And most of them don't realize it, for better or worse. And it's just like part of the pattern of taking indigenous people's lands and then stealing their identity, just like they used to do in ancient Khazaria. And so, yeah, I just wanted to make a video on that. Again, it doesn't matter at the end of the day, but it does matter if you want to know the rest of the story. as what's his name? Can't remember his name, but one radio host used to say at the end of his videos, or his broadcasts.